is doing their job. Okay, very briefly, let's jump into this last story. Over the course of this weekend, I came across this tweet that I found fascinating. Mike had tweeted almost 25 years ago, Wired ran a story predicting a quarter century of progress, what they call the long boom, unless certain things occurred to prohibit that progress. They had 10 progress busters they warned us against. Now, I didn't believe this when I first saw it, so I went and I found the original article. The Long Boom, A History of the Future, 1980 to 2020. So here's how we're gonna get more prosperity, more freedom, a better environment. Well, unless these 10 scenario spoilers come up. We're just gonna briefly show you, this is a shot from the article. You of course can't read that. And I just wanna run through these and get very brief reactions from you, Brett, about these. Are you impressed by this? So number one is, tensions between China and the US escalate in a new Cold War bordering on a hot one. There's been a lot of tensions. Politicians are playing it up more recently. New technologies turn out to be a bust. Marissa, I can't see past you. They simply don't bring the expected productivity increases or the big economic boosts. I think that new technology has been great. It has mainly allowed us to share inaccurate information online that stokes racial grievances much more efficiently than we could have back in the 90s. Number three, Russia devolves into a kleptocracy run by a mafia or retreats into quasi-communist nationalism that threatens Europe. Well, that would never happen. Number four, Europe's integration process grinds to a halt. Eastern and Western Europe can't finesse a reunification, and even the European Union process breaks down. Number five, major ecological crisis causes a global climate change that, among other things, disrupts the food supply, causing big price increases everywhere and sporadic famines. I mean, not so far in the United States, but that certainly has happened internationally. Major rise in crime and terrorism forces the world to pull back in fear. People who constantly feel they can be blown up or ripped off are not in the mood to reach out and open up. Number seven, the cumulative escalation in pollution causes a dramatic increase in cancer, which overwhelms the ill-prepared health system. I don't know that that's particularly causing a rise in cancer. There certainly is a lot of cancer and a lot of pollution, but. Number eight, energy prices go through the roof. Convulsions in the Middle East disrupt the oil supply and alternative energy sources fail to materialize. Though I did hear that gas is $7.50 in California, so maybe that is happening. Now we do have alternative energy, we're just not really using it. Number nine, this is a crazy one. An uncontrollable plague, a modern day influenza epidemic or its equivalent takes off like wildfire, killing upward of 200 million people. Now it did not kill 200 million people, let's be clear about that. There was a modern plague. Number 10, a social and cultural backlash stops progress dead in its tracks. Human beings need to choose to move forward. They just may not. Maybe they'll be told by guys on HBO that we should just surrender to the cultural backlash. Anyway, Brett, I found that to be fascinating. I understand there's a bit of cold reading to this. Those are the only things that could really stop progress, but some of those seemed highly specific.
I think a lot of them are right, and it means like it felt like writing a paper in college where it's just like, what are the here are the top 10 things, and then you get to write your paper about 3 of them, and I think do you have a top 3?
I mean, I think obviously the plague, I think the social and cultural backlash, we're currently experiencing that right now, and the climate change. I mean, there were others as well, clearly, but those 3 are definitely going to be a major impediment to change in the future. And we are experiencing them. Yeah.
They did a really good job of identifying these things.
They did. And that was quite a while ago. Anyway, we'll see if any of the others come true in the next few years. Can't wait to find out. Anyway, Brett, thank you for joining us on a Monday, a Brett-tastic Monday. I could get used to that. We're gonna be recording a top 10 list for our tier 2 and tier 3 members in the near future. So thank you in advance for that as well.
Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
Always. Those of you at home, thank you for watching. We'll have that top 10 list for you soon. Indisputable is coming up. Jackson White is gonna be joining Rashad Ritchie, so you're not gonna wanna miss that. But until next time, stay safe out there, stay sane out there. We'll see you soon.
Welcome. It's indisputable. We got a lot of show today, all right? We got Jackson White. He will break down news of the day with me, co-founder of and executive EIC of Politiscope, all right? And TYT Rebel HQ creator. Now, we will also have a special bullpen segment that's going to be interesting. We will discuss accuracy in media, okay? Now, Kyle Rittenhouse is my top story. Kyle Rittenhouse, in my opinion, got away with murder. And I'm going to explain to you why this is murder and how this case has turned upside down what we know as the Castle Doctrine. But the truth is, they have been chipping away at the Castle Doctrine for years in the United States. Now, Kyle Rittenhouse says Black Lives Matter. He has no problem with it. He actually supports the movement. Here it is.
This case has nothing to do with race. It never had anything to do with race. It had to do with the right to self-defense.
Right.
I'm not a racist person. I support the BLM movement. I support peacefully demonstrating. And I believe there needs to be change. I believe there's a lot of prosecutorial misconduct, not just in my case, but in other cases. And it's just amazing to see how much a prosecutor can take advantage of somebody.
The killer, Kyle Rittenhouse, is lying. See, body language gives him away as well. When he says that he supports the Black Lives Matter movement, he's shaking his head like this. Go back and look at the video, okay? He doesn't believe what he's saying. Now, naturally, he's on with Tucker Carlson that we interview tonight. Tucker Carlson, Fox News, safe haven for all things racist. So let's talk about the elements of racism that do exist. Obviously, the criminal justice system was biased in his favor. That is a racial element, okay? You don't have to simply be aggressive against black people in order to be racist. Remember why he was there. He traveled to that state because he was anti-Black Lives Matter protesters. That's why he was there. Let me remind everyone that in this Rittenhouse clip, Rittenhouse spoke out denying his case was related to race in the clip of his interview with Tucker Carlson. A acquitted teen was spotted on Sunday having lunch in Florida where he filmed the sit-down interview. Meanwhile, protests continue in Kenosha and several other cities over the not guilty verdict. This case, according to Kyle Rittenhouse, has nothing to do with race. It had nothing to do with race. It had to do with the right of self-defense, Rittenhouse told Fox News host Tucker Carlson in an interview filmed on Sunday. He went on to say, and I quote, "I'm not a racist person. I support the BLM movement and peacefully demonstrating." The teen added in an advanced clip of the interview, which is set to air on Monday night, okay? They put out this part of the interview because they are coming to the rescue of Kyle Rittenhouse. Here's what the conservative right, here's what they're trying to protect Kyle Rittenhouse from. They don't want Kyle Rittenhouse to become Zimmerman, okay? That's what they're trying to protect. Now, Zimmerman, who also got away with murder, in my opinion, has lived a loser of a life. Well, he was a loser before it, okay? Remember, Matt Gaetz has already offered Kyle Rittenhouse a job in Congress. You have people going to his defense. There were celebrations that Kyle Rittenhouse was found not guilty. We have video after video all across America, people inside of bars in particular, white people especially, cheering and applauding the not guilty verdict. Now, why is that? Was Kyle Rittenhouse their son? No. Did they have some personal stake in the case? No. But why are they celebrating like this? Because they see their movement personified in Kyle Rittenhouse. Their movement that says we can go to a protest for black people, for black lives. We can go to their protest armed, violating state law. We can be the aggressor. And we can kill someone if they got something to say about it and get away with it. So let me show you how this expands the castle doctrine and why I believe Kyle Rittenhouse got away with murder. The castle doctrine, also known as a castle law or a defense of habitation law, is a legal doctrine that designates a person's abode or any legally occupied place, for example, a vehicle or a home, as a place in which that person has protections and immunities permitting one in certain circumstances to use force. Real simple, right? Real simple stuff. If you are somewhere that you are supposed to be, it doesn't work if you're somewhere you're not supposed to be. If you're somewhere where you're supposed to be, somebody tries to attack you, you can use force. And yes, you can even use deadly force if the circumstance warrants it, right? Simple, castle doctrine. And then there was an expansion of that doctrine called stand your ground. Let's go to stand your ground. Stand your ground laws allow a person to use deadly force in a confrontation, no abode necessary, without any duty to retreat, even when they can do so safely. We have allowed them to chip away at the self-defense clause for decades in this country. You see, Wisconsin still has a state law that says you cannot use deadly force to protect property. Why? Because the duty to retreat is still statutory in Wisconsin. Now, states like Florida and some other states that have stand your ground laws, no. Confrontation can permit the immunity from your prosecution if you kill somebody, all right? And now look at what this case has done. This case is now said in very plain terms. You can go to another state. You can enter into a very chaotic situation. You can bring a weapon illegally. You can then be the aggressor. You can antagonize. And when they try to disarm you, because you are the antagonist here, armed and dangerous, when they try to disarm you because you have no legal authority to do what you're doing, you cannot use deadly force to protect property, not even your own property, unless your life is in danger at that property and you are inside of the property. You have a duty to retreat safely, a duty to retreat. This case law has turned upside down all of those statutory elements and common law known as case law that we've had in the United States of America. Kyle Rittenhouse has transformed all self-defense laws in this single case. Jackson, what are your thoughts?
Well, you touched on this, and one of the most important things to keep in mind is that the only reason we know who Kyle Rittenhouse is and the only reason that the right wing has turned him into a lifelong icon is because he did what he did at a Black Lives Matter protest. You know, people go around and commit shootings and murders all the time, but this one specifically happened at a Black Lives Matter protest. And because of that, it gives, whether it's Black Lives Matter or the LGBTQ community or raising taxes on the wealthy or anything that unifies us in any type of way, that categorizes us as the others, it's ammo for them to just go against it. And one of the things that Kyle Rittenhouse pointed out in the interview that's getting ready to be released that we saw is basically him saying that his trial was unfair. Yet he's now a lifelong right-wing icon after walking away free from murdering 2 people across state lines. What drove a 17-year-old kid to drive across state lines with an assault rifle? Because it was a Black Lives Matter protest, and those people are trying to that clearly that's what it was. Yeah. And I'm not a racist. I'm okay, but you wouldn't have been there if it wasn't a Black Lives Matter protest. So again, it's the same old story, but because this is so blown up, and unfortunately, one of the differences between him and George Zimmerman is, like you said, they're gonna keep him from being like just this perceived loser who's just like this big troublemaker. He's gonna be and from what I can tell, he's better spoken than George Zimmerman, so they can kind of butter him up really well. And we're gonna be seeing him for a long time.
I agree, because they're gonna make sure of it, right? They're gonna make sure that he's front and center in their cultural war. And here's what the right is really good at doing. They're good at selecting villains and selecting their own heroes who really are villains, right? Think about the people that are their champions. Matt Gaetz, Donald Trump, Kyle Rittenhouse. These are villains. These are not heroes. And for those who may say, well, Doc, there's no reason to believe that this court case will turn upside down what we know as common self-defense and more murders will take place. There's no reason to believe that. Let me challenge you on that notion. When states started to enhance and increase the Castle Doctrine, what do you think happened? You think less murders happened? Here's the stat. Let's put it up. Texas A&M, they did a study. Their study showed that justifiable homicides rose by 8% in stand your ground states. Damn, that's 600 additional killings connected to that law. Wow. All right. Jackson, I hate to say it. It pains me to say it. But more people are now, because of this case law, they are going to test it. They are going to go to a protest, be the adversary, the aggressor, the antagonist, kill someone, and claim the Rittenhouse defense.
And not only that, but they're going to be protected, and the right's going to be ready to protect them as they do. We're getting ready to go into election season. It's going to be really volatile. So all these cultural issues are only going to be really perpetuated throughout the media, on an extended basis. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to the state of Georgia. All right. Georgia denies mistrial to the defense. This was another issue inside of the murder trial of those, the McMichaels and Brian, who killed Ahmaud Arbery, okay? Attorney Kevin Gall, the attorney, complained last week when Reverend Al Sharpton joined Arbery's mother and father inside the Glenn County courtroom and said he feared the presence of the parents' pastor could influence the jury, telling the judge, we don't want any more black pastors coming in here, all right? So remember, this guy has been trying to get a mistrial with all of his tactics, and the judge peeped game on this. But here's the new one, here it is.
Third parties are influencing this case. They've been doing it from the gallery in this courtroom. They've been doing it outside. This is what a public lynching looks like in the 21st century, with all due respect. They don't have to have 10,000 people outside. They don't have to have 100,000 people outside. Perception is reality. We have sealed these jurors off. We hope we have. We have sealed them off. And it doesn't matter how many people are outside. It doesn't matter how violent they appear to be. It doesn't take much. Just because they haven't put a gallery up, they haven't put a podium up outside with a hangman's noose on it, doesn't mean that this isn't a trial, despite the best efforts of this court. This isn't a trial that's been infected by mob violence of a woke left mob. This is what a mob-dominated trial looks like in the 21st century, and we're asking for the mistrial.
All right, the court, having heard from the movant as well as the parties, denies the motion for mistrial. I think the court's position has been accurately stated previously. I thought it appropriate, given the mistrial filed, that we have it on the record.
Damn shame, but I said this last week. I said this guy is literally saying these things about he doesn't want black pastors, that he doesn't want Reverend Al Sharpton or Reverend Jesse Jackson. And by the way, Jesse Jackson had not even been to that courtroom, even though he said he had been there. He wanted Jesse Jackson in that courtroom. 200 pastors responded, and rightfully so. They should have responded. They should show that community is connected to this trial. I have no issue with that whatsoever, okay? More than 200 pastors gathered on Thursday outside the Glenn County Courthouse in coastal Brunswick, Georgia. Organizers said it was a response to defense attorney Kevin Gall's previous comments that he did not want any more black pastors in the courtroom. And I said this last week on Indisputable. When it happens, when these black preachers go there, and they absolutely should be there. White preachers should be there as well, by the way. When they do, this attorney is going to claim, oh, my client cannot get a fair trial, mistrial. Well, the judge has summarily denied it once again, okay? We clearly see what he's doing. He's setting this trial up for appeal. That is it. And he's hoping that he can get a favorable judge at the appellate level to overturn the conviction that is likely to happen with these killers. Jackson, what are your thoughts?
Well, the saddest thing about the antics that we saw him do is that even if there were 10,000 people outside of the church, what does that have to do with the fact that Ahmaud Arbery is no longer alive? What does that have to do with the fact that he was pursued by these two gunmen and murdered for no good reason? So absolutely nothing changes the fact that an injustice was taken out and that we routinely see people, in this position, as we were just talking about with Kyle Rittenhouse, get away with things that other groups simply couldn't. So, it's good that the judge was not really, trying to hear it, because it was really a desperate attempt that had no basis in reality.
And I would argue this was not his most desperate attempt, because literally this same attorney made a motion for a mistrial because Ahmaud Arbery's mother dared to cry inside of the courthouse, okay? He made a motion for dismissal based on that. Here's how the judge responded to that motion. The judge said, and I quote, "At this point, I'm not exactly sure what you're doing. At this point, it's almost as if you're just trying to continue this for purposes other than just bringing it to the court's attention. And I find that objectionable from the court standpoint." You see, the judge has peeped the game that this attorney is playing inside of his courtroom. But see, the judge should have done something when he peeped the first game. Remember, Jackson, the first game was when the judge even acknowledged that him striking 11 of the 12 remaining qualified black jury members, that when he struck 11 of the 12, the judge even said, it looks discriminatory.
Yeah, how could it not? Let's get rid of all of them but one. Just keep one. What I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's yeah.
It's quite insane. All right, let me show you a video. Police officers, they decide to pepper spray and tase a kid in school. Here it is. Your eyes do not deceive you. You saw a black kid being physically handled by these cops, tasered, already pepper sprayed. Black kid, right? You see a white kid trying to provide aid to the black kid, not following orders of the police, being antagonistic, and understandably so. Did the cops decide to taser the white kid? Did the cops decide to arrest the white kid? Did the cops even pepper spray the white kid? No. Let me give you some background on this situation. A video shows police officers using a stun gun on a child twice at a high school in Little Elm, Texas. The student had already been pepper sprayed during a protest. All right, this is about a protest. Here's what the protest was about. Fox 4 reported that the incident occurred on Friday during a protest over a sexual assault allegation involving a student. The district claims that is not true and said inaccurate information in a social media post about an incident a month ago spurred the protest. Police were allegedly called to calm things down. Way to go. One student, a TikTok user, KJIS Great, posted a video of himself in action attempting to assist the student who had just been hit with a stun gun. The footage shows the black student had been stunned before the video started. In the video, police shot the child again, though he was already incapacitated. Previous research, and I'm going somewhere with this, but before I go to this part, before I go to that, I want to remind everyone that this is systemic. This is not a silo. This is not a one-off. It is systemic that black children, in particular black males, are treated more harshly than their white counterparts. You just saw it. Now, what you just saw was not something that happens just once a year. This is systemic. It is institutional. It is the reason why people even study critical race theory, because the bias is not something localized, but it is systemic. Here's the systemic part you should pay attention to. Previous research has suggested school administrators treat black students differently than their white counterparts. National data collected by the US Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights showed that black students were more likely to be suspended from school than white students. Black male students represented 8% of enrolled students and accounted for 25% of students who received an out-of-school suspension. And when you look at the crosstabs of that data from the education department, you will find that this data set also connects to the behavior, meaning they are being suspended at that rate based on the same behavioral issues as their white counterparts in the school system, but their white counterparts are not receiving that same level of punishment. Jackson, thoughts?
Well, this type of stuff, I actually, and you probably have as well, just the type of environment that you came from. This is the type of stuff that's pretty routine in elementary schools, even middle schools, high schools. Walking home from school, where I grew up in St. Louis, there used to be fights and stuff all the time, but police would pull up and enthusiastically be ready to fight. And I was in the 6th, 7th, 8th grade, ready to fight with us. And I saw things like that happen a variety of times where police beat up kids, looking back, and we were 14, 15 years old. And these are grown men, and this is completely unnecessary, other than this is what they think that they're supposed to do. And this is how they think they're supposed to handle these types of situations. And if that wasn't the case, then the statistics wouldn't be what they are that you just read out.
That's right, well said. All right, we're gonna continue to follow that story because as of now, we do not have any type of update as far as what the school is going to do or that jurisdiction to those cops. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
I'm old enough that I remember when Captain Crunch put the berries in it.
Yay, crunch berries!
And I was like, ooh, the fake berries.
Remember?
We're gonna try that.
We did a story back in the day about how a woman sued, I don't know, General Mills.
She'd been eating it for 4 years,
right,
believing that it was actual berries. Yeah. She's like, these aren't real berries at all.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got news for you. Captain Crunch isn't really a captain or a person. Joining me now, legendary whistleblower and American hero, Edward Snowden. First question is, hey, where are you?
I'm in my apartment in Moscow.
All of a sudden, in the studio, Jim Gaffigan, everybody.
Mental illness is, completely undiagnosed in our society.
It's not about a particular administration. It's about a broken system of power, and through that, really, the instrumentalization of a system of not justice, but injustice.
People understand whether they claim to deny climate change or not. Our collective house is in crisis. We're also dealing with the legacy of 40 years of economic policies that have made people's lives more precarious.
Sometimes you got to force people into their humanity. Sometimes you have to shake people into empathy.
Senator Elizabeth Warren joins us in the studio.
Healthcare is a basic human right, and we are fighting for basic human rights.
In order to actually achieve that vision of everyone having access to the same resources and getting to determine the outcome of their life, we have a lot of work to do, and it needs to start right now.
Here's something you may not know. When you deposit your money in a big bank, it doesn't just sit, safe and secure, in a vault. Instead, your money could end up building oil pipelines, mining for coal, or drilling in the Arctic. So if you're concerned about the planet, give your money something good to do. Make the move to green with Aspiration's fossil fuel-free account and join the thousands each week who are switching to save their dollars and save the planet at the same time.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Idarola. This is gonna be a big one.
What Donald Trump has done as president has cut taxes for the wealthy and made life better for rich people. But he's made life worse for poor people.
We're making America great again by throwing more money at the military to destroy other countries because that makes us great instead of investing it in ourselves.
That it's Donald Trump and it's Stephen Miller. The choosing is based on wanting to create cruel and inhumane conditions to scare other people away from ever coming to the United States.
The opportunity to make money off of tragedy is the American way.
There is only one place to put garbage people: in the trash.
We've never had so much access to so much information with so little idea of what the hell is going on.
What does enforcing our borders have to do with traumatizing children? Absolutely nothing.
I think a sane person could say the current situation we have right now is radical. But what we're doing is literally making the world more like hell. That's a warning sign.
ShopTYT.com now has books. One of them is Ryan Grimm's book, We've Got People. That's a saying that AOC said, they've got money, we've got people. It's the best tracing of the AOC victory I have seen anywhere. It's the most accurate, and it's got great details. The book actually goes all the way back to Jesse Jackson and how he's the original Bernie Sanders. If you want to know how we're going to win going forward, those lessons are super important, and they're in Ryan's book. So check it out right now at ShopTYT.com.
We found the perfect person to lead the army, Allison Hartson.
The establishment media works hand in glove with our corporate legislators, and our corporate legislators work hand in glove with the corporation. And we're going to make it so that it's a decentralized force throughout the country so that we can quickly identify stories, quickly identify troll farms, and go in and neutralize the enemy, and then start building responsible media throughout the country and on every platform available.
All right, welcome back. We got a lot of show left. Let me remind you of some things. This is really hot. So, Shop TYT Day, okay? Shop TYT Day 1. We got 9 days of impact here, okay? Today, first day, you got 10%, 10 cent, excuse me. 10 cent will be donated to Planned Parenthood for every comment on Anna's viral TikTok. It will be pinned, the pinned video at the top of the page. You can go there, check it out by heading to TikTok.com/The Young Turks, at The Young Turks, okay? Plus 15% off Feminist AF collection. Where is that? ShopTYT.com, of course. Use the code FEMINIST to check out and get that discount, all right? Also, ongoing, We need you. If you are a person who can write, produce, host, edit short form editorial videos on breaking news and politics with a progressive point of view, we need you at Rebel HQ. If you're interested, apply at tyt.com/careers, okay? All right, and don't forget about the conversation, all right? Always the conversation. Let me read some of these amazing comments. Thank you for engaging. Square peg in the round hole says, summing up the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, excuse me. I have an AR-15 or any other gun. I can use it to defend myself against people who are in fear of their lives because I have an AR-15 and throw things at me or hit me because I have a gun. This is circular thinking at its finest. Yep. Jambo Gino says, remember that Rittenhouse was protecting that property without the permission or knowledge of the property owner. And you're right, and Wisconsin law says you cannot use deadly force in the protection of property. You still have a duty to retreat if you can do so safely, okay? That is Wisconsin law. It is still the law. Now the case law is contrary to that law. Isn't that something? All right, Colorado Blue Blazer Regular says perception is reality. The defense attorney is an absolute racist. Tyler Hackner, the sister protects people that look like Kyle. Yes. All right. Chaplain Fred says, Dr. Rich, I wonder what would he say if I, a Latino pastor chaplain, showed up in the courtroom, LOL. He would then say he don't want black or brown pastors there. That's what he would say. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I wish Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday?
You're still free. Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
No.
Deal with me.
You're right. Have you touched me? I did not touch you. So I asked you.
No.
Hey, will you go get another 18 listed for me?
No, I'm calling my mama.
I don't
You ain't about to up, bitch. I need to work her now. Please respect him, but she doesn't get away from me.
She's shaking.
You want to talk to her because she's black and she's thick and she's pissing me off right now.
Shut up,
This is what happens when you're raised privileged, when you're raised racist. The rules do not apply to you. I'm comfortable saying all of this. And the reason is because I'm a former high school teacher myself. There are some things I observed here. Let me first applaud this school teacher for keeping her cool, okay? The student who decided to call her mother when she was in the middle of verbally abusing and physically abusing a school teacher called her mother because her mother is her refuge. Her mother is her safety. You see, if mama didn't teach you those things, that's the last person you're going to call. Hell, you don't want mama to even come into the school if that's contrary to what your mother has taught you. But if it is aligned with the ideology of your parent, then you call your parent first because your parent is going to back you, or at least that's what you think. Let me give some background to this very awful scene. A white student went up to a black teacher in a Texas classroom and slapped her hard on the arm before threatening to call her mother. In the video that was shot by a fellow student, the unidentified pupil from Castleberry High School in Fort Worth could be seen striding up to the front of the classroom before hitting the teacher on her arm as she tried to make a phone call. The educator had been using a phone, set on her desk, and then the riled up student attempted to hang up the call and lashed out physically. Now, despite this video going viral, It was at 130,000 views. It got way more now. The Castleberry High School has so far not explained the incident or what led up to the extraordinary outburst. Well, we have enough explanation for us to talk about it. All right, Jackson, what are your thoughts?
I think you pointed it out great, is that, if you're in high school, in any type of environment, and you're still under the tutelage of your parents in their house, you're not gonna call them unless you feel safe doing so.
Yep.
And unfortunately, we see a young girl who's growing up in a very chaotic environment, and she's got she's got a lot of tough lessons and tough times ahead of her as she goes through life, looking at things the way she does.
Yeah, and as I always say, this is a reflection of the parenting. These individuals, these children are in training. They are not 100%, in my opinion, responsible for all of their actions. They're responsible for much of it. But there's a parenting dynamic here that has to be called out to the forefront. All right, I got something for everybody. Double dose.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
You're still free. Back off. I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Oh my God. Oh my God, he just threw water at her. He just threw water at her, bro. She's about to burn the house down, dude.
Address, bro.
I cannot actually believe my eyes.
477.
I cannot actually believe it. And she's sitting there just chilling, watching the house go up in flames. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is now turned into a serious thing. Then get out of the house.
I said something 2 weeks ago, I gotta take it back. I said that I thought we found the Karen of the year. Obviously, I spoke way too soon. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Karen of the year. Jackson?
I love how she's just sitting with her legs folded. It looked like she was reading a book or something like that. But
Karens do what Karens do, brother.
They're gonna do what they do, and they're gonna be comfortable with it. You know what I'm saying? And ain't nobody stopping them. But it's just, she's clearly out of her mind, because you're probably going to jail. You're not just gonna get away with burning a house down. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I hope it was worth it.
I don't know what the argument was about. I don't know what started it, what was the catalyst. We may find those details out this week. But it was an argument. The argument, no matter what words were said, should not have ended in you burning up a home and then sitting to watch it. That's some Hollywood stuff. Like, who would think to do that? Right, that's exactly, that's like a script or something, right? Okay.
Right.
All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
Every day, the Young Turks delivers 2 hours of solid, fact-based, timely news and progressive commentary on all the day's most important stories. We keep our viewers informed while also providing perspective and insight on the news we cover, so you understand not only what's happening, but also what's happening behind the scenes, the stories behind the stories.
Gee, I wonder why we didn't get $15 minimum wage. Because they're all raising money from the guys who don't want to increase the minimum wage.
And we play musical chairs and put these children in one awful detention facility to the next. That's what's happening at the border.
The things that got him banned, he's still spreading. So presumably, I think it's reasonable to say that if you allow him back on the website, he's going to do it again.
Any legal voter that we deem not willing to vote for my side shouldn't vote because it'll replace me that's supposed to vote for my side. That's not how voting works. That's not how democracy works.
start. And while many people following today's political news can get discouraged about the direction of the nation and the world, that's not us. At TYT, we're genuinely optimistic about the future, and with good reason. Today, wide majorities of Americans agree with our progressive stances on issues ranging from healthcare and education to climate, immigration, and wages. The rising generation of young people are also overwhelmingly progressive in their political beliefs and policy objectives, and they're increasingly flexing their muscle as voters and activists to demand change from our elected officials. The traditional mainstream media is mostly AWOL. They, along with the government and many other cherished institutions, have been captured by corporate interests. Audiences sense that they're not getting the whole story or even the truth from once trusted outlets, whether broadcasting cable TV news networks or national newspapers and magazines.
The Republicans say we will serve our corporate masters at all costs, including killing democracy, yet here we are. Where else do you hear that? You hear that on NBC, on ABC, on CBS? You hear it nowhere.
They don't want to talk about money in politics because it's really hard to pass judgment when your media organization is funded by fossil fuel companies.
The antidote is the Young Turks. Unlike mainstream corporate outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to Big Pharma. And we don't carry water for the Republican or Democratic parties. So watch us Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and join the thousands of progressives around the globe who tune in every day for TYT's unmatched, award-winning content and see what it's like to experience a news organization that only answers to you.
I'll continue to sit. I'm going to continue to stand with the people that are being oppressed.
The president labeled him a son of a bitch.
I don't think it's good to be a distraction to your team.
To stand proudly for the national anthem.
You know, some of these people need to move to another country.
Well, you shouldn't be playing. You shouldn't be there. Maybe you shouldn't be in the country.
The president is put in place to amplify the racists in this country.
Black men and boys are killed at an exponentially higher rate than white men and boys, as outlined by PBS. Black people are most likely to be killed by police, found mappingpoliceviolence.org. Personally, my biggest gripe is not seeing how sports and politics have been attached at the hip. From the jockey syndrome, to the Negro Leagues, to Tommy Smith and John Carlos, Muhammad Ali, to modern day and everything in between. This is not an escape. It is a reflection of reality and a reflection of the times.
Everything that we've accomplished over the years is because of our members who've allowed us to remain independent of corporate interests and reach 20 million followers. Now is the time to bring as many people into the progressive movement as possible. We're inviting you to be the change and help bring a community-powered progressive change machine to life. Details are at tyt.com/change. If you're a member, thank you. We need you to remain so. If you're one of the thousands of viewers out there who's not a member yet, the time has come for you to join now. We need you more than ever. tyt.com/change.
What's happening? Welcome back. We got a lot of show left. Let me read some of these comments. Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon, says, Karens are teaching their little Karenettes early how to throw tantrums. Yep, and how to be racist. I mean, what does the teacher being black have anything to do with whatever conflict they're having in the classroom, right? All right, Texas Two-Step Dragon says, Dr. Richie, the sad part is that after attending many school board meetings in Texas this year, the apple does not fall far from the tree. I wish I could say I was surprised, but this is how the majority of how the outraged white moms act in those meetings. I believe you. Tyler Hackner, Karen's coming, all ages. Twitch, Jax Drax says, the entitlement is strong in this one, as is her temper. Both, dangerous combination together, right? Phoenix 32778 says, that's a little racist Karen in training. Her mother is gonna come and start, and then her mom will call a cop. Yep. All right, 5 Georgia cops, okay? They have been indicted for murder. This is a really interesting story. You got to pay attention to it because this is what happens when you have a DA who applies the law equally. 5 Georgia cops have been indicted on murder charges after the death of a 24-year-old man. The DA, his name is Darius Patillo, a young black male who does not seek any media attention whatsoever. He simply applies the law fairly, okay? This story gets deep. The officers tasered this young 24-year-old 15 times. The man was naked. Here it is.
Game bread.
Hey, get on the ground, dude.
Look, man, get on the ground.
Get on the ground, man.
Go ahead and hit him. Give it to him again.
I am.
Roll over.
Roll over.
Roll over on your stomach.
Roll over.
Roll over, dude.
Roll over. You're gonna do it again.
Roll over. Bodie, go ahead and start this way, bro. Dude, roll over.
Roll over.
And get you some help, okay? Get on your stomach.
Get on.
Roll over, dude. Come on.
Roll over.
Whatever it is you're on, it ain't worth all this. Roll over, okay?
Roll over on your stomach.
You ain't gotta get the neck.
No. Well, you need to stop.
Roll over.
Roll over on your side.
Roll over.
Here, you got a taser? I'll grab it if you're tasing.
Roll over. Come on, let's go. Roll it. He is slick. Roll it.
Alright, get ahead, come over. Go ahead.
Hit him again. Taser me. Who's got that on? Y'all get it? I got this on. Get it on. Handcuff him. Hit him again.
Roll over. Hit him again. Roll over. You ever been tasered before? Know what it does to your body? It makes your muscles move in ways that you're not controlling them. Your bodily functions start doing weird things. You get tased multiple times, you go into shock. You can't hear or perceive as you normally would. They know all of this. They took the training. They're certified. They know all of this. So when they say, get on your stomach, tase him again, they know that he's not comprehending as if he is normative in that moment. They know this. It didn't stop there. They then decided to pile on this naked man who had no weapons, to pile on top of him. Here's the second video.
Sit on it. Sit on him, y'all. Somebody get on his back with it. Put your weight on it. Dude, you might come and kick your teeth out.
Stop. If you move. Stop popping.
Step on that arm. Step on the arm.
Dude, keep your head down. Actually, he's quit breathing. He's quit breathing.
Are you serious?
No, it's serious. No. Take your butt up.
I just didn't want to have to beat the boy to death. What happened the last one we did?
I told you, got him pretty good.
Get the cuffs off.
Disconnect the cartridges. You want the shackles on him?
You think they gave a damn about killing him? Protect and serve, right? These are gangsters. These are criminals. These are thugs. They don't care about life. They don't care about protecting a damn thing but themselves. Let me give you some background to this, okay? Let's put up a picture of Mr. Fernando Rodriguez, all right? He's dead now. because those cops killed him. Those cops have been indicted by a grand jury. Fernando was 24, was naked and walking on a road after attending the Imagine Music Festival at the track in Hampton, Georgia. This was on September 20th, 2019. When the officers confronted him, used a stun gun and then piled on him, according to the Henry County DA's office, and then edited body camera video. He died at a hospital days later, and the state medical examiner ruled his death homicide by asphyxiation. 2 days of testimony. After 2 days of testimony, a county grand jury returned an indictment for each of the 5 officers Friday on 1 count of malice murder, 2 counts of felony murder, and 1 count of aggravated assault. The DA's office said the grand jury also charged each officer with 1 count of violation of oath of office. They were identified as Henry County police officers Robert Batura and Quentin Phillips, and Hampton police officers Marcus Stroud, Gregory Bowden, and Mason Lewis. There's also a wrongful death lawsuit filed by the family. The officers should have given the man medical aid instead of continuing to restrain him. Instead, they waited for an ambulance to arrive. Rodriguez's family ultimately accepted a $3 million settlement from the Hampton police. They are still pursuing legal action against the Henry County police. All right, that's according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Let's put up a picture of the chief of the Hampton police. His name is James Turner. Hey, Chief Turner, since you don't want to let us know the picture or give us the picture of your cops, your picture will do. Same thing with the Henry County Police Chief, Mark Ammerman. Let's put up his picture, okay? They're the guys ultimately responsible for this pack of criminals. And let's put up a picture of the good guy. His name is DA Darius Patillo. See the difference? Because he is willing to apply the law equally, fairly, justly. 5 cops have now been indicted for murder in Henry County in Georgia. Jackson, thoughts?
I think you pointed it out perfectly that these cops demonstrated behavior of basically bored thugs with nothing to do who see a bystander walking by and decide to just gang up and bully on them. Under no circumstances was this necessary. You would think that if you saw someone walking naked down the street, they're probably on drugs, they're probably intoxicated or not doing well, and they likely can be talked down, with some form of softer negotiation. But they pulled the taser straight out. So they killed him on purpose. That's what they set out to do.
Yep. All right. Racist, white supremacist prison guards work with impunity in the state of Florida. That's according to a new report. Let me give you some background here. The Associated Press recently released a story that detailed multiple incidents of white supremacist prison guards abusing inmates and sometimes even being adversarial to black co-workers, okay? In June, 3 Florida prison guards who boasted of being white supremacists beat, pepper sprayed, and used a stun gun on an inmate who screamed, "I can't breathe," at a prison near the Alabama border. The next day, the officers at Jackson Correctional Institution did it again to another inmate. If you notice, these 2 incidents were people of color. The guards, let it be known they were white supremacists, the inmate Jamal Reynolds wrote. The black officers and white officers don't even mingle with each other. Every day they create a hostile environment trying to provoke us so they can have a reason to put their hands on us. Some Florida prison guards openly tout associations with white supremacist groups to intimidate inmates and black law enforcement colleagues. A persistent practice that often goes unpunished, according to allegations and public documents and interviews with a dozen inmates and current and former employees in the nation's 3rd largest prison system. Corrections officials regularly receive reports about guards' membership in the KKK and criminal gangs. according to former prison inspectors and current and former officers. They know about it. They know it's happening. They know that these guys are working inside of the system and they are criminals. They are white supremacists. Still, few such cases are thoroughly investigated by the state prison inspector. Many are downplayed by officers charged with policing their own or discarded as too complicated to pursue. I've visited more than 50 prison facilities and have seen that this is a pervasive problem that is not going away. Democratic Florida State Rep Diane Hart. It's partly due to our political climate, but those who work in our prisons don't seem to fear people knowing that they are white supremacists. Let's put up a picture of some guys. I want to tell you about them. Okay, you see them? In 2017, 3 current and former Florida guards, Charles Newcomb, Dave Elliott Morin, and Thomas Jordan, driver, who were KKK members, were convicted after the FBI caught them planning a black former inmate's murder, okay? This summer, one guard allowed 20 to 30 members of a white supremacist inmate group to meet openly inside of a Florida prison. A black officer happened upon the meeting, they told the AP, and later confronted the colleague who allowed it. The officer said their incident report about the meeting went nowhere and the guard who allowed it was not punished. It goes on and on. Now, we've exposed white criminal gangs right here on Indisputable. At one point, I ran the mugshot of the largest gang bust in the southern region of the United States of America, okay? These white supremacist gang members were plotting and planning and doing criminality, and they were going unnoticed. Jackson, what are your thoughts here?
My thoughts are that, a prison guard is really the perfect occupation for a white supremacist because you're primarily dealing with people who are considered to be outcasts of society. Primarily people in prison are blacks and Latinos, and people really don't pay attention to their health and their well-being because they're considered to be outcasts of society. So, it's good that there's been a little bit of justice and a little bit of spotlight, but as you pointed out, this happens all over the country because again, this is just an area where people really aren't paying much attention to. And if you're a lowlife, what's a better place to work than to go hurt people who are in prison?
Wow, yeah, all right. This is one of those stories where if you don't believe white privilege is a thing, obviously they do. There's a Trump fan, okay, who hopes his jailhouse friendship with R. Kelly will convince the judge to be easy on him. I kid you not. Let's put up a picture of this guy, okay? This is a Queens man faces up to 10 years in prison after he was convicted of threatening Democratic lawmakers after Donald Trump's election loss. But his attorney says his time in jail with R. Kelly proves he should be let go. The judge should be lighter on him. Brandon Hunt. Let's put up his picture again. Brandon Hunt. We got his picture. All right, there he is. All right. An aspiring actor who, after his arrest, was fired from a clerical job in the New York courts, encouraged the public execution of Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and AOC shortly after the January 6th insurrection. As evidence, now I want you to remember, they are claiming this as evidence of why he should not be in prison. As evidence of his artistic talents and his ability to, and I quote, find positive ways to endure troubles. His lawyers included in their sentencing memorandum portions of comic strips Mr. Hunt drew while incarcerated. One of them featured the disgraced R&B star R. Kelly, who was among Mr. Hunt's rotation of cellmates before Kelly's racketeering and sex trafficking trial. So he has a comic strip. Wait a minute before you put it up. He has a comic strip of him working out with R. Kelly, I guess. All right, here it is. They're calling that genius. They're saying because this guy is so amazing at taking lemons and making lemonade, and he's such a prolific artist, and because he was cellmates with R. Kelly, I mean, come on, Judge. Fortunately for us, they do not have the judge in the Kyle Rittenhouse case, Judge Schroeder. Thank God, all right? Because Schroeder probably would have went for it. The pair, I'm talking about R. Kelly and Mr. Hunt, they actually did live together for a brief period of time in the summer, and Hunt drew comics showing them lifting weights. They went in jail, all right? When I say live together, I'm talking about cellmates, not roommates. They were lifting weights, practicing yoga, and discussing music, which his attorneys will argue shows that the 27-year-old was not a violent white supremacist. The US Attorney's Office in Brooklyn will ask Judge Pamela Chin to sentence Hunt to 4 to 5 years, while defense attorneys will ask for his release after serving 10 months in custody because of this right here. Put up the picture again. Let's put up the artwork. All right, if I'm the judge, I'm tacking on an additional 5 years for that garbage. I'm doing the exact opposite here, okay? Jackson, the reason why I say this is the ultimate white privilege defense, a black person or a person of color, we don't have the creativity to even think that a drawing like that with R. Kelly working out inside of a cell. I would,
what inspiration?
Come on, man. If my attorney said that, I would fire my lawyer. Get the hell up out of here.
Right,
There's
like,
no way we're taking this to a judge.
Yeah, no, man. In the centerpiece where they were like clapping hands and they were like brothers, that was the funniest part to me, because it's like, I guess in his mind, R. Kelly's, like black and he's famous, so maybe this will make some type of connection. But black community really isn't too fond of R. Kelly because most of the people he did what he did to were black women.
That's right.
So you kind of picked the wrong persons, but good luck, and let's publicly execute state leaders. This guy, he doesn't really know his left from his right, clearly.
Yeah, and it's real unfortunate. He has obviously an attorney who's probably just as smart as he is, all right? For them to even segregated this. All right, always a pleasure, brother.
You too. Right.
Tell people how they can follow you, man. Check out your amazing work.
Oh yeah, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Politiscope app. We help keep you updated with legislation in Congress. And just check me out on Rebel HQ. I do videos Monday through Friday, breaking down material, breaking down what's going on in here in this country. And you can catch me co-hosting as well. So appreciate you for having me. And it's always good to be here. Always do a great job as well. Thank you so much. All right. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
You know what the progressive movement needs? It needs a little energy, a little pizzazz, maybe a little caffeine. Oh, coffee. But what if it was Too Strong Coffee? Yes, new, toostrongcoffee.com/TYT. Look, this helps progressive causes. It's also organic and fair trade, so you've got peace of mind that it was done right, and it happens to taste great. So check it out right now at toostrongcoffee.com/TYT.
300 million is a pretty good number, Well, that's the size of the US population. You know what our next target is? The size of the entire world. We just crossed 5 billion views on YouTube.
I mean, imagine 10 years ago thinking one day. We looked at you like, are you nuts?
Young Turks has just passed another milestone. 15 billion views. Damn. All right, lots of comments. You guys are the best.
I'm gonna read a few comments from our members.
Mr. Methuselah says on YouTube, super chat, thanks for all the important work you do for TYT for the movement.
Do you know who had the first super chat when I got back from vacation? You won't be surprised to find out. Rob Shively, what do you know? Rob says, rejoice, for Dragon Daddy has returned.
This question sent to us by Izzy Sanchez Jr. Is it me or is Meghan McCain talking as fast as Ben Shapiro? Is that the way the right tries to look smart and intellectual? Well, yes.
Michael Nathan writes it on Twitter. Did Anna choose Cenk's outfit today? I'm sure it wasn't Cenk himself. Man Bun Cenk in Skinny Jeans says, so now Anna has pointed out, okay, that's his handle.
T. Joyce, 1971, saying Donald Trump is good at pulling out of things, NAFTA, the Iran deal, NATO. It's just too bad Fred Trump didn't.
All right, let me do a little quick plug here. It's not even a plug, I'm bragging, okay? I'm bragging, watch me. We have a channel on YouTube, a whole channel devoted just to the Young Turks. It's badass, right? Wow, man. I can see the voice.
You guys are rock stars.
Unbelievable. Senator Sanders, welcome to Rebel Headquarters. Man, you guys are amazing. We gave you what you wanted. Okay. Speaking of shirts.
I have a surprise.
You reached a lot of people. You are the Young Turks. And we have spread that progressive message wide and far. Let's keep it going.
Here's what we do. We go beyond the headline. We are willing to engage in transparent conversations with those who do not think like me. We also make sure that you know what's happening not only nationally, but in your local area. Make sure you tune in to Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, Monday through Friday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time.
Cool news, shopdyt.com now has books. There's a whole bunch of books there. You're gonna be shocked to find out that they're largely progressive. Of course! Ryan Grimm's book, We've Got People, is there. It's a fantastic story from Jesse Jackson to Bernie Sanders to AOC that explains the progressive movement probably better than any book I've ever read. Speaking of awesome books, my dad's got a book out called The Original Young Turk, where he goes from the poorest olive farmer you ever met in your life to living the American dream.
All right, welcome back. Let me read some of these comments before I get to the comments. Don't forget, it is Shop TYT Day, day one right now. 9 days of impact, okay? Today is day one and 10 cents, okay? Will be donated to Planned Parenthood for every comment on Anna's viral TikTok video. It will be pinned. The video will be pinned at the top of the page, which you can check out right now by heading to tiktok.com/@theyoungturks. Plus 15% off Feminist AF collection at shoptyt.com. Use code feminist to check out, all right? Okay, let me read some of the comments. Mika C, the Silverhead Dragon says, oh my God, that is horrifying. That's a human being they're torturing. I guess the cops feared for their lives with a naked man who obviously had no place to hide a weapon. Multiple cops and they all couldn't physically make him roll over. Greyhound Dragon says, how is he supposed to roll over when he's being tasered over and over again? Yep. Eric the Red, he was so out of it, he couldn't even say I can't breathe. They tortured and murdered him and he never did anything to them at all. Yep. Cray Souffle about the MAGA man who's friends with R. Kelly. I understand that art is subjective, but this guy's art is absolute crap. Yeah. KevZ247 about R. Kelly's new cellmate friend says white Jesus needs to chill. Twitch, Jax Drax says, people can't even protect themselves from the police without further retribution. Cops are a threat to society. They are not heroes. Rubird says they are laughing, saying, I didn't want to beat him to death like the last one. Yeah. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bullpen. In the Bullpen today, we have Mr. Adam Guilette, president of Accuracy in Media. Adam, good day, welcome.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. I don't want to presume what you know or believe about accuracy or inaccuracy in media. So if you would, give us your sentiment and then we will go from there.
Sure, a summary of us as an organization, we use investigative journalism and citizen activism to expose public corruption, fraud, and abuse. A lot of times we use political tactics against cultural targets.
Okay, I'm okay with that. So we're on the same page so far. Now let's dissect the element known as bias, okay? You agree that there is bias in media, and does bias necessarily mean inaccurate? Or do you separate those two in your line of work?
You know, I'll tell you, I don't even so much have a problem with bias per se, because we're all human beings, we all have our own biases. I so much prefer when people are open and honest and upfront with their bias, like a show like yours. And I detest when anybody, regardless of ideology, pretends to be right down the middle, but a blind person could see that they're not. But what I really have a problem with is when people are dishonest, disingenuous, when they knowingly lie to their audience to get attention and get clicks. That's where the real problems lie.
Adam, I'm with you 100%, brother, 100%. So I lecture in mass communications in colleges in mass comm. And I lecture on advocacy journalism, the activist role inside of journalistic realms. So we talk about these things openly. And I say something very similar to what you just said. It's not about the bias, it's about the facts. Don't get the facts wrong in an attempt to manipulate the story. Don't do that, all right? If the facts don't add up, you have to tell the truth. But what we have seen is not biased media. You know, the Constitution does not say, hey, Congress has to create, unbiased media. That's not what it's about. You have this freedom of press, this freedom to deliver content. But you're right, it's the trickery. It's when you say, listen, I'm hardcore news. And then you give a warped reality or a warped story that's simply not only biased, but also inaccurate at its core, right? I'm really interested to know, what do you all believe about things like the election was stolen from Donald Trump and there's a mountain of evidence to prove it? Like when someone on the news makes that comment and it's a news anchor or an anchor of a show, What's you all's reaction to that?
Well, it depends on the staffer because we don't generally get involved in individual policy wonk debates. For me personally, I don't think the election was stolen. I think Brit Hume summed it up best when he said if it was stolen legally by laws that were changed. And we can debate whether or not those laws should have been changed. But the notion that there were mountains of ballots that were brought in and whatnot, I don't think that happened. And our organization has never run around saying that that's happened. We've never run around defending people saying that that's happened. And there are plenty of people out there who do a great job pointing out when folks lie and say there's voter fraud and there wasn't voter fraud. So for that reason, we don't usually pile on. We try to focus on the targets people aren't already hitting.
Well, let me ask you about those targets. So give me an example of a target that you all would have in your wheelhouse that's not something that would necessarily be in mind.
Sure, I'll give you a couple. So Andrew Cuomo got an Emmy Award. The man was the grandma killer. He was a disgusting disgrace. We now found out today he got the book deal only 3 weeks after the first COVID case was announced. He was a COVID failure and they gave the guy an Emmy Award. It's bad enough to hear political speeches at every award show, but to now have token awards given out to our favorite politician of the day is disgusting. So we went after the Emmys. We sent emails to the board members of the International Television Academy of Arts and Sciences. We sent a mobile billboard to their office saying Cuomo lied, thousands died, revoke his Emmy now. And we played a small part, I imagine, in the fact that he no longer has an Emmy.
Okay, what the hell does that have to do with accuracy in media?
Well, I think giving an Emmy Award to a man celebrating his, they said, press conferences where he educated the public, his press conferences were inaccurate. He was lying to people. He was literally covering up the deaths of thousands of senior citizens. It was like a genocide on senior citizens. Another big target we hit is teen vote.
Okay, before you get to that, before you get to your second one, let's deal with the Cuomo thing. And I don't have any love for Cuomo because I do believe he victimized women. So, but I do find it interesting that an organization who says they are for accuracy in media, they are going after a politician who's at this point, I mean, let's be frank, he's a has-been at this point, but going after a politician because of an award they got. Now, if that's what you all do, that's what you all do. I find the title, just think about the irony of this. I find the title to be inaccurate. If you
think
call
Hollywood's an important form of media?
Just allow me to finish my point.
Sure.
When you call yourself accuracy in media, there's a presumption associated with that title that says your mantra, your mission statement or goal is to make sure that there are accurate stories or accurate content inside of media. Am I wrong for presuming that's what your organization will be about?
Well, I think it's wrong to automatically presume that the name of an organization automatically directly defines what they do. I would think that this channel is making kebabs. If I had only ever heard that it was the Young Turks, I would think that maybe I'm getting a donair kebab with some lovely tzatziki. So you sometimes have to know more about it.
You don't think accuracy
I didn't interrupt you, or I did. So we didn't go after Cuomo, to correct what you said. We went after the International Television Academy of Arts and Sciences. I think Hollywood is an impressive.
Nobody gets their media from those guys. What? Help me understand this.
The Emmy Awards don't have viewers.
But so you're not talking about media in the sense of content delivery. That's not what you're talking about then. Your organization is not trying to make sure that there's fairness and accuracy inside of the content. Because when we first started the conversation, you said, hey, I don't like people that call themselves news people and they have a bias. Just tell me who you are, which made me believe that you are an organization that tries to balance the field by making sure that these kinds of organizations or news companies, that they are more accountable to accuracy, even if they are biased.
Well, then I'll give you a more relevant example. You're familiar with Now This, the online news site?
Yeah.
Yeah, Now This built their following, much like BuzzFeed, with clickbait, listicles, and puppy videos. Once they had built up about 10 million of followers on Facebook, they pivoted and started putting out quote unquote news that was all hard left. You look into it, you find out that multiple executives at Now This, where did they come from? The DNC, the Stacey Abrams campaign, the Hillary Clinton campaign. If you want to come out and say you're an ideological news site like yours, which I love, that's one thing. But to come out and bring in an audience with clickbait and puppy videos, and then to have DNC staffers putting out hard life news, do you have a problem with that? Is that disingenuous?
Let me ask you, brother, what are your thoughts about Fox News?
I think Fox News, like many news channels, has a lot of opinion shows where people express their opinions on those shows. I don't get bothered by Hannity expressing his opinion any more than I got bothered by Rachel Maddow expressing hers. Those are open news commentary shows.
All right, what about the inaccuracy of Fox News?
Well, anytime one hears an opinion they don't agree with, they view it as inaccurate. I think their hard news shows are some of the best you're gonna find out there. But if you don't like an opinion on a news commentary show, well, those are news commentary shows. That's like complaining about an editorial.
That's untrue. That's untrue. Even in editorial, I happen to be president of a major magazine. Even with editorial, you have a basis for fact. And if you don't have that basis for fact, you should know this if you work as president for accuracy in media. If you don't have a basis for fact, it still lacks journalistic integrity. Even if it is an op-ed, it does still need to have a basis in fact. So we have been able to prove systematically that Fox News, they will lie. Or they will have a guest on the show that lies and they don't challenge the guest that lies. But they still call themselves Fox News. Now you can argue about the opinion shows versus the news shows, okay? And that's a fair debate based on opinion. But when you represent opinion as fact, when you say something is a fact that is not, that is inaccurate. Here's how opinion journalism should work or opinion commentary should work. I give you a set of facts that are not debatable, and then I give you my opinion about those facts and what it means in the larger social context. That's how you do this. I do this every day. So when you have an agency like Fox News that you obviously have overlooked significantly, you mean to tell me that the only agencies that you all have gone after are agencies that tend to be left-leaning? Are there any right-leaning agencies that you all have also called out on your platform, Accuracy in Media?
Let me address both your points. First of all, I think any opinion should be grounded in fact. I think anybody would agree that any opinion should be grounded in fact. So there's no need for a scarecrow argument there. What my point was is that I'm less bothered by the Rachel Maddows and the Hannitys because the viewers tune in knowing what they're gonna get. Now, an opinion, an op-ed, all those should be fact-based, and if they're wrong, and if you're building your opinion based on lies, that's foolish. But if I tune into Maddow, I know what I'm gonna get. So to me, that's less bothersome. If I gotta list my list of things that's gonna annoy me, that's far less bothersome than a hard news show. Now, in terms of do we go after the right-leaning stuff, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know if you know this or not, I'm not a big right-leaning guy, I'm a libertarian. I got plenty of problems with some Republicans. I got plenty of problems with a lot of things Donald Trump did. But we don't go after the Fox Newses. You know why? Plenty of other people are already doing that. We go after the outlets that nobody else is talking about. I'll tell you, we don't even go after CNN. We don't go after MSNBC that much. We go after Now This, we go after BuzzFeed, we go after Teen Vogue, the outlets that no one else is focusing on, because what's the point of being the 10th one to a party?
Let me ask you this, man, because I find this quite fascinating that you're overlooking, to me, a grand mission that's part of what you do. And that's to make sure that you have an impact so that there's more accuracy in media. I mean, you do want more accuracy in media, correct?
Do you want more kebabs? Again, are we defining everybody by their title? Does Fox News want more Foxes?
Sir, do you want more?
We all want more accuracy in media
content. Okay, you do want more accuracy in media. So over 60% of those who watch Fox News, they actually believe, this is based on pure research, they believe that's hardcore news. You don't have a problem with that?
I'm delighted about that because I think they deliver a far better news product than many other outlets. And I think their hard news shows are fantastic. I don't agree with all of the opinions on the opinion-oriented shows, but as I said, people tune into those knowing what they're gonna get. I'm less bothered by the opinion-oriented outlets. I'm more bothered by the BuzzFeeds and the Now Thises, where they bring people in telling them they're not ideological, but then they push ideology. Isn't that a problem to you?
Adam, think about this. I just cited to you the Pew Research study that shows the vast majority of Fox News viewers, they are not aware, according to the research, that this is opinion commentary as opposed to hardcore news. That's problematic if you're talking about your initial statement about how people perceive the information. Number two, if you're talking about going after BuzzFeed or Now This. That's fine. I understand that. Listen, organizations, anytime we do things publicly, we're going to get public praise and public ridicule. That's how it works here. But you mean to tell me that with all of the right-leaning news agencies, the smaller right-leaning news agencies, the mid-sized right-leaning news agencies that call themselves news, but they're doing something quite diabolical, your organization has never, not one time, called them out for inaccurate information?
Do you go after Fox News?
Yes.
Do you go after Teen Vogue?
Yes.
You've gone after Teen Vogue?
Yes, when they went after it, I have. I absolutely have. They cited a stat. Sir, they cited a stat about a year ago, and I put my foot up their ass on my radio show. Yes, I also went after CNN when they were inaccurate about the reporting of black on black crime. Yes, I went after Democrats, I've gone after Republicans. I'm more accurate in media than you are.
Well, we're not media, so we're an activist organization. So accuracy is swell, but we're not a media outlet. Again, we go after the folks that people aren't generally going after. We don't go after CNN that much. We don't go after MSNBC
but do you go
that
after
much.
Any
there's
of
a
the
million other people doing that.
Right-leaning organizations that are flying beneath the radar, but they have similar following as Now This or BuzzFeed or others, but they're right-leaning.
There's a million other people doing that, and people who go to the Daily Wire, people who go to the Daily Caller know what they're going to get. Teen Vogue, which professes to be a young women's fashion-oriented magazine, and puts out a series promoting communism. Literally communism. That is a bait and switch, my friend.
I don't co-sign on communism. The vast majority of stuff I've read in Teen Vogue has been absolutely accurate because they cite the data source and they cite where the research came from. But I understand this.
Yeah, they have a series called Bread and Roses that pushes Marxism to young girls. The information came from the Communist Manifesto. I see what you're about. Great on them for citing it, but that's wacky, man.
Listen, man, you know what's wacky to me? An organization that calls themselves Accuracy in Media, and they are absolutely inaccurate in their.
Where are we inaccurate? What are some instances of our work that were inaccurate?
Absolutely, brother. I answer that question. Have you one time considered going after a right-leaning publication for being inaccurate?
Probably not, because there's people doing that. I've said that point again and again. And let me be clear, just as I said, people should know what they're getting. We don't profess to be an unbiased organization. We're a freedom-oriented organization. But we're not right-leaning. We've got staffers of all ideology on our staff.
Yeah. I appreciate you being on the show, though. Thank you, Adam.
Hey, thank you for having me anytime. It was a good time.
Absolutely. All right. Conversation is next. Remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.